identify this is a test case. When you run it as a test ng, run as test ng, how many tests are there, those many test cases it will consider and it will execute and it will give us the report. Okay, let me run it once. Here I have 2 test cases. Okay, so it should give output as this one. Okay, pass test case 1, test case 2. Okay, what is the output of that one? Each test case I have a printf. This is test 1, this is test 2. Okay, how many tests are there? Okay, let me run it. See here, it finished execution. Test 1, test 2. This is these first 2 lines came from output, whatever we have written sysouts. Okay, system.out.println, and this is passed and failed. This report is generated by test engine. Okay, so this class is a part of one test, and this part, the test is a part of another suite. Suite is like super one. Inside sub one is test, inside sub one is classes. Okay, so this class is a part of test. Okay, we can add a number of classes to a test. Similarly, a number of tests to a suite. Okay, so overall report it is giving in this test how many test cases are there. Okay, overall suite report also it is giving. We did not provide any name for our test and suite. That is the reason it is giving default test, default suite. Okay, now this is from console. If you want, we can see from beside console we have one more option, results of running class annotation cell. So this is from test-ng graphical view. Okay, so default suite, it contains default test. Okay, inside that there is a class. That class has 2 test cases, test case 1 and test case 2. All are passed. That is the reason it is showing in green color. Okay, any doubt in this first one? This is clear, right? Whenever it is executing the test cases, generally what it will do is it will execute in the order of alphabetical order. Okay, let me go through that one once. Here, I have test cases, 4 test cases I have. Okay, here I have 4 test cases, test 1, test 2, A underscore test 1, A underscore test 2. Though test 1, test 2 code is available in the beginning, okay, it will execute A underscore test 1, A underscore test 2 first, and then it will go to test 1, test 2. Yes, test-ng will execute our tests in alphabetical order. Okay, now let me run it. So total 4 tests it completed. First one is okay, A1. Okay, A1 underscore test, A2 underscore test, A test 1, test 2. Okay, so 4 tests passed. Any doubt in this?
So can you show the program once again? Like, I mean, where is which alphabet it is considering?
Okay, test case name.
Oh,
yeah.
name. Okay.
The test cases names are test case test 1, test 2, A underscore test 1, A underscore test 2. Based on the test case names, okay, it will sort it and it will keep in alphabetical order and then it will start executing. Okay. In that scenario, if I want to execute test 1 first, generally test-ng what it will do, it will execute in the form of, in the order of alphabetical order. Okay, if I want to execute my test 1 first before A underscore test 1, generally it will execute alphabetical order, means A underscore test 1 first, A underscore test 2 second, and test 1 third, and test 2 fourth. If I want to execute test 1 first, okay, yesterday we discussed about priority. Okay, we can set the priority so that it will execute that priority test which has priority more less will be executed first. Okay, priority. Priority. Okay. If I write like this, priority 0. Okay, lowest priority tests will be executed first. Okay. Now let me run this. This time, if you see previous one output, it executed a underscore test1 a underscore test2 first. Okay, this time it should execute test1 first. Sorry, there is none. Still same order we got, that means priority maybe P is capital. Let me try once. Priority. Okay. 1 second. Priority. Okay, it's correct only, but still it is showing some error. Let me see. Still it is executing that one only. So before test, we are going to give this is 1, this is 2. This time it executed in the order of priority. Okay. Previous time it did not execute. Maybe if we should set it to all. We'll see once. We'll remove the priority for one of the test case and we'll see what happens. Okay. So A2. Okay. See here, if you don't give any priority, it is taking it as 0 priority. Okay. Initially, when we gave some other priority, see here, it is executing A2 first and then A1, sorry, 1, 2 and A1. Okay. In earlier case, when we gave some other priority, other things we did not set priority for the other tests. That's why it take it as 0 and it executed those first. Okay. Now you set the priority to all, then it will execute in the order, in which order you want to execute, that order it will. Okay. So based on priority, it will execute those tests. Less priority will be executed first. Okay. Yeah, test 1, test 2, A1, A2. Instead of alphabetical order, it is going to execute in that order. Okay. Now, not only priority, we have something called dependency. Some of the tests are depending on other tests. Okay. In that scenario,
Venkat, it starts from 1, right? Not from 0. Is that correct?
What?
The priority starts from 1, is it?
No, 0 also we can say it. Let me see once exactly. 0 not sure, but I feel it's possible. Okay. Let me give 1 to 0. We'll see that also. Will it allow or not? Any, it's mentioned like any integer we can pass as an argument to this. That means 0 also comes under that. See, it executed with 0 also. Okay.
Okay.
So this one is clear, right?
Yeah.
So we can set the priority, okay? Whatever the priority we will do, based on that it will execute. Another one, we can set some dependency also, okay? So we'll remove the priority. Consider here there is a dependency on some other. Suppose if I don't have priority, how it will execute? It will execute a underscore test1 first, a underscore test2 next, and then test1 and then test2, right? If I want to set some priority, dependency, suppose my test a underscore test1 in this case, if no priority means it will go to alphabetical order and it will execute. So as per alphabetical order, a underscore test1 it will execute first. But there is a dependency, consider this a underscore test1 should execute after executing test1. In that scenario, we should add a parameter like dependence on methods. Okay. So if you add like this, depends on methods. Okay. You write one method or two method, any number of methods. Okay. It will execute. Generally, if you see in previous scenario, because of alphabetical order, a underscore test1 will execute first. Now I mentioned like it has some dependency on test1, test2, and a underscore test2. Okay. So what happens is if you write dependent on methods, first it will execute these methods, dependent methods, and then after executing all those, it will come and execute a underscore test1. Okay. Let me run it. See here, a underscore test1, okay, that means A1. It's inside test case A1, okay. So it executed at the end. If you don't give anything, it will execute first, okay. But we gave some dependency, that is the reason it did not execute first. It executed the dependent method first and then it executed this method, okay. Is it clear?
When you have large number of test cases, how do you identify where to put in? Say if it was not for this dependency or the priority or even the alphabetical order, if I wanted to run a test case after test 2, then I would just go and insert another test case after test 2, and I thought it would make sense for that to run after it. Now, because of the alphabetical order, we have to use one of these other methods, like depends on methods or priority. But when we have large number of test cases, how do we
set the priority?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, when we have large number of test cases also, always whenever we are writing test case, we have to make sure each test is independent. There should not be any dependence, 99%. Okay? Because if you have 100 tests or 1000 tests, we may run one test or we may pick randomly some tests, right? or else consider I have 100 test cases related to Gmail. Some are priority one, some are medium priority, some are very low priority, high priority, medium priority, low priority. So if I have more time, I can run all the test cases. If I don't have much time to execute my test cases, I will go for only high priority due to time constraint. At that time, if you write your test cases are like dependent one, okay, we cannot run those scripts. So always make sure your test, each test is independent. There should not be any dependent. Even though you are writing most of the tests are independent, if you feel one or two tests are very less, if you have some dependency at that time, if you want to use, you can go for this. Okay.
Okay.
Venkat, one question. So why it is picking the lowest priority first? It should be the other way, right?
Yeah, that is the design of that test engine. Okay.
There is no configuration change or something, right? We cannot.
No, we cannot change anywhere like highest take first like that. We cannot set it. Okay. Now, so dependency and priority. Okay. Similarly, we have one more attribute called like priority. We have one more attribute called timeout. Okay, if you give the timeout, sometimes here timeout equal to 2000 millisecond. Okay. Attribute, I'm not going to run this one, just I will show. Okay, we have something called timeout. Maybe attribute name might be some R capital or something. Okay, timeout. Change it to timeout. Okay, timeout. If you set to 2000, this is milliseconds. Okay, if you set timeout like how test takes, parameters, dependency methods, and priority, like that we have some attributes. One more is timeout. If you set some timeout in milliseconds, within that timeout, if this test is unable to finish, it will make your test automatically fail by saying that timed out. Okay. For example, consider here, we don't know sometimes how much time it will take each test, right? So we did not, while giving that, see each test case, let me explain a scenario. Some of the operations, we have written wait logic, right? In wait logic, we mention like wait for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 1 minute. Some operations take more, some operations takes less, right? So sometimes what we will do is we'll set more time, because instead of giving 20 for some operations, 60, some operations 30, like that, we'll give for 5 minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes is max wait time. Okay, so if you have 100 operations in my test case, how many times? Worst case, 100 into 5 minutes, 500 minutes it will take for one test case. Okay, before that test case, consider this is a very simple test case which should finish within 2 minutes. Okay, I have set the timeout of 5 minutes, and like that I have some operations here 100. Even though 100 are there, all these are very fast and simple operations. It should not take more than 2 minutes. Okay, actually if you don't set any timeout, what happens is within that 5 minutes, first element it will check, unable to find means it will fail. After 5 minutes, if it finds, it will go like that, it happens. Even though if you want to fail your test before waiting that much of time, maybe that actual timeout, whatever we set, 5 minutes is main intention is for other tests, maybe not for this one. Though it is applicable for this one, because same sleep we are using everywhere. In that scenario, if you want to make this test case fail with a timeout, okay, if it is unable to finish within 2 minutes, make your test fail. Okay, though your time logic, wait time is there, this test will fail. Got it?
And it will go to the next test case, Venkat, right?
Yeah, it will go to the next test case. In test.ng, what happens is here we have 4 tests, right? Suppose here let me write something called thread.sleep. Thread.sleep. Actually, thread.sleep, what it will do? It will wait for some time. Okay, for example, we'll set time of 5 milliseconds. Okay, now this text here, nothing code, we did not write anything, just one printf. So it should pass, right? It should not take much time. Okay, here I gave timeout of 2000 milliseconds, that means 2 seconds. I'm telling overall this method or this test case should not take max 2. Okay, if it is more than 2, still that it will wait within that 2 seconds. If it is unable to finish the test case, it will fail the test. Here explicitly I am adding 5000 milliseconds, that means 5 seconds. So this test should fail because of that timeout. Okay, let me run it. One test failed out of 4, one failed. Okay, reason is, see which test failed? Test 1. Okay, test 1 failed. Okay, well here we added test 1. Okay, so it is showing timeout exception. Okay, this method did not finish within the timeout whatever we have set. See here, within the timeout. Okay, within the timeout of 2000 milliseconds. Got it? So like this we can use timeout attribute also. Okay, timeout and then priority. In this one, no doubt, right? Like this, we can write a number of tests inside a file. Now, let me go through this example. Here I have 2 tests. It executed 2 tests. It passed 2. Okay, it's fine. Now, if I want to make my test cases explicitly fail, okay, see here I have 3 test cases. Function test 1, function test 2, function test 3. Okay, so if I want to make any test case fail, generally if any exception comes, automatically test.ng will fail your test case if you do not handle it. Okay, if you do not handle it, test.ng will fail your test case automatically. If you are handling the exception, it will not fail. Okay, now consider I want to make this test case explicitly fail. Okay, in that scenario, we should write a statement assert.fail. Okay, assert class has a fail method. Okay, if you do this one, what happens? Whatever the message you are passing, that message it will show in error message when it fails. Okay, and it will fail the test. Okay, similarly, if I want to skip any test case, while writing the test cases, we will do some checkups, right? If we did not meet that condition, then no use of running our test case. At that time, we can skip the test. Okay? If setup is not ready, we can skip the test. Okay? Sometimes we may skip or we may fail the test case, depends upon our interest. If you want to fail the test, you use assert.fail. If you want to skip the test, you write this statement, throw new skip exception. There is a exception class, skip exception. It is a class. Okay, how to throw the exception? Throw. Okay, throw and exception object. Throw and exception object. Throw This is throw. Okay, and exception object. We have to create the exception object. There is a class skip exception. For that class, if you create object, how to create object? New and class name parenthesis. Okay, in that parenthesis means constructor. Whatever the message you will pass to that constructor, that will be shown in whenever it skips. It will show that message. Why is it skipped? Skip reason. Okay, clear? So we can skip the test as well as we can fail the test. Another one, if you don't do anything, simply here I am doing printf. Okay, it will print and it will make the test pass. Okay, in case even in this test 3 also you have consider you have 10 lines of code, one of the line may throw exception when it runs. Okay, if it throws the exception, then automatically testng will make your test case fail. Okay, if you do not handle that exception. If you are handling that exception using try catch, in that case testng will not make your test fail. Okay, now here 3 test cases. One I am explicitly failing, another one skip, another one is normal one. Okay, so if I run this one, it should show 3 test cases, one skip, one fail, one pass. Okay, 3 test cases. Out of that, one skip, okay, one failure, one skip and one failure. Total is 3 test cases. We can see the result here. Okay, pass, test 3 passed, test 1 failed. Okay, reason is C. I am failing the test 1 explicitly. This is the message I have given while writing assert.fail. See here, I am failing the test case 1 explicitly. Okay, like this, whatever is there, whatever you have mentioned in assert.fail, it will show that one. Okay, here you can see I have written the output here, copy pasted. Test 1 will fail, it will show the error message. Okay, and assert.fail. Okay, second one, test 2 skipped. Okay, whatever the error message you passed, it will show that one also. Test 3 passed. Okay, total 3 tests, out of that 1 failure, 1 skip. Any doubt in this? Next one, let me go to another annotation, before method. Okay, before each test case, if you want to perform some operation. Okay. Yeah, before each test case, if you want to perform some operations, that is like a precondition for each test case, not for one time. It is for each time, for each test case it is required, then we should use an annotation at the rate before method. You write a method, inside that you write the statements whatever is required for each and every test case. Before executing each and every test case, if you want to perform some operations, you write those steps inside this method. Okay, method name can be anything, before test case or Venkat, before or anything XYZ, it can be. But before that test case, you should write the annotation at the rate before method. Okay, if you write that before method annotation before any method, that method will be executed before executing any test case. Okay, similarly after method. Okay, after executing every test case, after method, annotated method will be executed. Okay, now here I have before method and after method, and I have 2 test cases. Okay, test 1 and test 2. So before executing test 1, it should execute once before method. After executing test 1, again it should execute after method. Okay, again before executing test case 2, it should execute before method. After executing test case 2, it should execute after method once again. Okay, before and after will execute before executing and after executing the test case. Okay, see here, this is the output. So this is test 1 and this is test 2, right? Before executing test 1, it executed before method, after method also. Okay, before executing test 1, it executed before method. After completion of test case 1, it executed after method. Similarly, for test 2 also, it executed before and after. Okay, before executing the test case 2, it executed before method. After execution of test case 2, it executed after method. Okay, any doubt in this?
Now, I see a little bit of a conflict with the other test case, the priority
Okay.
and the before and after methods. Will there be a conflict here?
Mahesh, can you please explain one more time?
Uh,
In this program, whatever I am showing,
okay, yeah. So,
in this one, yeah, tell me, we have 4 methods.
so before method, is it only for one test case, or can it be for all the test cases in the particular file?
Fine, for all the test cases.
Okay, so there can be only one before method.
Yeah, you can write more also. If you write more, those many it will execute. Suppose you have another one, see here, first one, we have only one before method for all the tests. Okay? This output before executing test 1, okay, before the one which I highlighted blue color, above that before method, I am inside before method, it executed, right? Before executing test 2, it executed again one more time. Okay, because I have only one before method here, it executed that one for all the test cases before executing. If I write another one, you can have n number, but n number is not required, that is not suggested also. If you want to make one precondition for all the test cases, okay, at that time you use this one. Okay, now same before method, I am adding one more, right? So 2 before methods are there. Before executing each test, what it will do, it will check for before method exists or not. If it exists, it will execute the test case. This time it should execute 2 times. See here, before executing console output, please see the console output. This is test 1. Before executing test 1, before method 1, okay, before method 1. So 2 times it executed because 2 before methods are there. But when we are using in real time, generally we don't use 2 or 3 before methods. Only one only we use for all the tests. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Any doubt in this? So, before method will be executed before each test case. Okay, before executing every test, it will execute before method. If you have 100 test cases, 100 times before method will execute. Similarly, after method also will execute 100 times. So if you are writing before method, that means it's not mandatory like you should use after method also. Depends upon your requirement. You can use either before method or after method. Okay. If you want to do some conditions or some setup for every test case, you keep those statements inside before method. Okay. So before method is clear, right? It will be executed for every test case. If you have 100 test cases, 100 times before method will be executed, 100 times after method will be executed. Okay. Similarly, we have something called a class. Okay. Another annotation before class. Okay. Like how we have before method, we have something called before class. Similarly, after class also we have. Okay. If you write before class and after class, consider this is one class, right? Inside this class, I have some test cases. consider how many are there, two test cases are there inside this. Okay, for all these two test cases, only one time if you want to perform something else. Okay, if you want to perform some operation only once before executing these test cases, if you want to perform one operation, that too one time. Okay, at that time you use before class. Okay, before class will be executed once before executing all the test cases of this class. Okay, before class will be executed only once before executing all the test cases of this class. Okay, similarly after class also. After executing all the classes, it will execute only one time. Suppose in this file, I have two test cases. Okay, so let me run this output, you can see. See here, two test cases, test case 1, test case 2. Before test case 1, before method and after method executed, before and after. Similarly, for test case 2 also, before and after method executed. But after class and before class, see, before class executed only once. Similarly, after class also executed only once. Because per class, it will be executed only one time. If you have 100 test cases in this class, okay, in this file, so how many times you will get before and after class? Only one time. Okay, you have a number of, irrespective of that one, it will execute only one time for this class. Okay. It's clear? Before class and after class. Okay. Now, like that, we have something called test. Okay. Yesterday I discussed. First thing is a suit. Bigger one is suit. Inside suit, we will be having tests. T-E-S-T, test. Okay. We will be having 1 or 2 or n number of tests. Okay. So main thing is suit. Inside suit, we have test. Okay. So inside test, you will be having class. Okay. Inside class, you will be having test cases. Okay. So I will show you the order of that one. How it should be. Test demo. Okay. See here. Suit. Are you guys able to see the XML file? Hello?
Yes, Venkatya, very good.
Yeah. Here, suit. Suit is main one. Okay. Inside suit, test is subtag. Inside test, we have something called classes. Inside class, you can write a number of classes. Okay. Suppose till now what we have seen is only one class. Inside one class, we wrote some tests. That means test cases, right? So, when we are writing test cases related to one functionality or one component, we'll write in one class file. Okay, related to some other functionality, we'll write test cases in another class file. Related to some other functionality, we'll write in another class file. Consider I have a big application. Okay, in that two types of tests are there. You consider test 1, test 2. In that test 1 also, based on component. For example, I have a product. In that I have functional and unit test, or else functional and system test. So system test, full suit I want to run means full I have to run. Test, functional test is one, another one is system test is one. So functional test again, component wise or depends upon features, they will write separate classes. Based on each component, they will write some test cases inside that component. That test has, suppose that product has consider 10 functionalities or 10 components. Each one has 10 test cases. 10 into 10, 100. So system test will get 100. Same system functional test also get another 100, but the way they test might be different. Okay, so each test, that is system test or functional test, okay, they will write their test cases inside different classes based on function. Okay, function or component. Component one class they will write inside that related component test cases they will automate. Component 2 inside that they will automate component 2 related test cases. Like that they have 10 components. They automated 100 test cases. Each component has 10, 10, 10. Okay, so all those classes, if you want to run, you should keep all those classes inside this. Okay, this is a test. Okay, here you add class and then you run that. Okay, you add all the 10 classes where they implemented the test cases and you run it, the test will be executed. If I want to run full suite, similarly I can create another one. Okay, here system test, or first one consider it is like functional test, second one is system test. Inside that also we will be having classes and they also automated test cases. Okay, here my intention is I want to show when test will come, when suit will come. Okay, test will come with multiple classes. Okay, that's why inside test there will be multiple classes. For all these classes, consider here I have 2 classes. In the previous example what we discussed is functional test. They have 100 classes, 10 classes. For all those 10 classes, if there is only one precondition and one post condition, at that time you use before test, after test. Okay, similarly here in my case also, okay, I have 2 classes. For these 2 classes I want to add only one pre-test. That means only one method for doing some preconditions, check and all. Another one, after executing all the test cases of these 2 classes, if I want to do something that I have to use using after test. I have to write using after test. So before test and after test will come with multiple classes. Okay, so you are going to run multiple classes. In that case, before running, suppose first class has 2 test cases, second class has 2 test cases, total 4 test cases it has. Before running these 4 test cases, if you want to do some operation, you write that operation in a method and you give the annotation before test. Similarly, after executing these 4, if you want to perform some operation, you use after test. Okay, so before and after test. Okay, so before and after test. Then how to run it? Earlier whatever we have seen is related to single class, so no problem, simply we can right click and we can run it. Okay, that is where we have something called testng XML file. Okay, that XML file looks like this. Okay, suit, inside suit, it should have test inside that classes. You write all the classes. Okay, inside these classes you write at another method and give at the rate before test. Similarly, write another method, give at the rate after test. Then those will be executed only one time for these 2 files. Okay, for individual files it will not execute. One time for these 2 files. If you have 100 files, each file has 100 test cases. That means 10 in 100 into 100, 10,000 you have. For 10,000 test cases, before executing all 10,000, first time it will execute. Okay, before executing these test cases, first it will execute before test and it will start executing these 10,000 test cases. At the end, it will execute after test. Okay, now let me run this. Okay, here I have 2 classes. Okay, like this you can give a number of classes. Okay, before test, after test. Okay, it will be executed how many times? It execute once before executing all the test cases of the test where this class belonging to. This class must be belonging to some test, right? So if you see this example, this class and this class are belonging to a test. What is the test name? Before test example, some name you gave. Okay, it belongs to this test. Before executing all the test cases, it will execute this before test. Okay, now let me run it. Before test example. See here, test. How many? I gave two files. Each file has two test cases. Okay. Now let me see. It executed before test once. After that class for that class and before method. Okay. Again, first one completed. Okay. Where is after class? There is something called after class. Okay, I have written only class also one time. Okay, so test, how many times after test executed? Only one time. So before executing all this, it started and it executed. Before executing test case, it will execute before method. After executing the test case, it started executing after method. Similarly, for test 2 also it is showing this. Okay, now let me see how many test cases are there inside this. Test cases are 2. Okay, and how many files we gave? So before test 5 and 5 and 2 classes we gave. So first class has 2 test cases. Second class also have some number of test cases. How many? 2. But total we should get 4 test cases, right? But our console output is showing only 2 test cases. Did you guys observe this? We are running 2 classes by using a test, right? When it runs full test, it should show this. Okay. Why is it showing only 2 test cases? Did anyone observe? Here, what I did is I right click and I did on test engine. That is the reason only that class it is executing. If you want to run a test, what you have to do? You have to run the XML instead of that class. Okay. If you run the class, at a time we can run only one class. If I want to run multiple classes, okay, you go to your configuration file, okay, XML file, and run as test engine. This time it should show 4 test cases. See here, 4 test cases it executed. Okay, we can see the console if you want. 4 test cases it executed. Okay, so before test and after test executed only one time before executing all the test cases. Okay, so first one, whatever I highlighted is related to one class. Okay, first it is executing before test. After that, inside that it picked one class. Whenever it picks the class, that class has before class, so it will execute that. And then it will start executing test cases. Before executing test cases, it has to execute before method. After executing test case, it has to execute after method. So test case 2 started. Test case 2 before method, after method. Okay, after. Okay, before class and similarly after class. So one class is completed. Okay, clear? Any doubt in this, guys?
So we can also write n number of test cases in one class, and we can also split Venkat, right? And we can call that using the XML.
Yeah, that also possible. In one only, okay, correct. What you are asking is here 2 classes I wrote and I am calling, right?
Yeah.
Instead of this one, in one class only, if you write more like 100 and all, can we call using XML? Yes, absolutely fine, we can call. Write a class here, okay, any class, okay. Here need not to, it's not mandatory like you should give all. Your suit may contain one also, okay. This time, even though if I run test demo. Okay. How many are there inside that? I am running XML, but I gave only one class, so it should execute only that class. Output should be two test cases. Like that, if that class has 100 test cases, you can run those 100 also. Okay, but that is a part of one test, right? If you see the XML file, this class is participating in one test, right? So if you, this class has @test, that will be executed. Okay. Sorry, before test and after test. Okay. Any doubt in this? So for test, okay, for test if you want to do some precondition, similarly if you want to do some post condition, you use before test and after test. Okay. Similarly, suit. Okay, we have something called suit. Okay, suit also, see different tests you can write. See here, suit example. So suit contains different tests. Okay, anyhow test inside contains some classes. You write all these. Here or here or here, anywhere you write before suit, similarly after suit. Then it will execute that for one time. For executing full suit. That means consider these three classes has 3 into 2, 6 test cases before executing 6 test cases. That means before executing all test cases of this suit, what it will do, it will execute before suit once. After executing all the test cases, one more time it will execute after suit. Okay, now before suit. Okay, here before test, after test, here I have something called suit. Okay, this suit it will execute before and after. Okay, clear? Let me run it. If I run only this program, it will run only that one. Okay, it will not execute all. Only 2 it will execute. Though it is executing 2, okay. See, we got suit because this class is a part of some suit. Before executing that suit, I have to execute before suit. Okay. So if I want to execute all the files inside suit, okay, here 3 are there. Using XML, you have to run it. Okay. Now, how many are there? Total 6 we got it. See here, 6. Okay. Suit example is in my XML, I have mentioned that what is the name of the suit example. What is the name of the test? Before test example. Okay. Sorry, test demo I am showing. Suit. Okay. Suit. Okay. Suit example. Inside that, 2 tests are there. Test 1, test 2. Inside test, some classes. Okay. Inside class, we have methods. Okay. That we can see here. Okay. See. Suit example. In that test 1, test 2. Test 1 has again 2 classes. Test 2 contains 1 class. Okay, test 1 has 2 classes. Each class has 2 methods. Similarly, test 2 has 1 class. That class contains 2. Total 6. Okay. So if you see here, suit. After executing all the test cases, it is showing after suit. Before executing all, it is showing before suit. Okay. After that, tests. How many tests we have? So before test, and similarly we have something called after test. After method and after class and after test. Okay. Whatever I highlighted in blue color, that is for first 2 classes. Those 2 classes comes under one test. That's why before test, after test. Inside that, before class, after class. Okay, inside that, test cases, before each and every test case, before method, after method. Okay, another test is there. For that test, again, before test, after test. Okay, all these are part of suit. Is it clear? Guys, any doubts in this? Annotations? Now, we'll go to groups. Similarly, how we have at the rate test, at the rate before class, at the rate before method, at the rate before test, at the rate before suit. Similarly, we have something called at the rate before groups. Okay, I have some test cases. I want to make those into different groups. Suppose I have, let me explain here, groups example. Here I have 3 tests. See here. Are you guys able to see? I am highlighting in blue color. I have 3 tests. Okay. So first test case 1 is a part of functional test, and similarly it is a part of unit test also. Then how to write groups? We have test annotation. Inside test annotation, how we can set priority dependent methods like that. Similarly, we can do groups also. Okay, groups, and you write the groups to which group this test belongs to, or this test case belongs to. Okay, this test case belongs to 2 groups, functional test and unit test. That's why I gave 2 group names there. Okay, similarly, I have another test case 2. This belongs to another group, only unit testing group. Okay, I have another test case 3. This test case 3 belongs to functional test. Excuse me, 1 minute. Hello? సరే నేను కట్ చేయడానికి కాస్ట్ మళ్ళీ ఓకే. Okay, so before test case, how we will write at the rate test? In the test only you can write groups also. Okay, now test case 1 belonging to 2 groups, test case 2 belonging to only 1 group, test case 3 belonging to 1 group. Okay, now similarly I have another test 4. It does not belong to any group. Okay, in that scenario, just if you run this example 1, only 1 file, what happens we'll see. It will execute all the 4 files. Okay, see here, test 1 executed. It is a part of functional and unit test, because I wrote inside test 1 printout statement like test 1 executed, it is part of these 2, and test 2 it is part of this test 3. So test 4 I did not write anything, so it did not. Okay, so here, see here, these things belonging to a group. That is the reason before group I added a annotation before group, similarly after group also. Okay, that's why before group executed, after executing group test cases, it executed after group also. After that it executed test 4. Okay, test 4 is not part of any group. That's why it is not there in between before group and after group. Okay, clear? So it executed all the tests.
Test cases are from the same class file, or it can be from different class files.
Different also. Yeah, we can give from different also. I have another example. I will show that. Okay. See, 4 tests and 4 passed. Okay. So before and test. Here I have another example. I will show that. Then how to make this test is a part of some group, that we have seen just now, right? Like this. Now, how to write add before group and after group? See, before group and after group. Okay, it will execute for group. For which group this function has to execute, that you have to mention like this. Okay, for this group it should execute before. Similarly, for this group it should execute. Like that, if you specify for that group, this before and after come into picture. Okay, first thing is, while writing the test cases only, you can set the test case is a part of some group. Okay, while writing the groups pre-condition, post-condition, that means before group and after group, you should write like this. This group, this before group, okay, execute for this group name. This after group function should execute for this name, this category or this group. Okay. Now we have 4 tests, we executed it. Now I have another one also, another class. Here also in class 2, okay, here 7.1, whatever we have seen is this one, first one. 4 tests are there. In second class, okay, here I have another 3 classes. One class, another 3 test cases. One test case is part of functional and unit test. Another test case is part of unit test. Another test case is part of functional test. Okay. Now I have 2 groups like this. Okay. If I want to run these 2, based on one group only, I want to run it now. Only functional test cases I have to run. So how many functional test cases I have here? 2 functional test cases, right? Similarly, in class 1 also, okay, we have 2 test cases, right? So total how many are there? Functional test cases? 4. Okay. So let me run it. So groups. To run that multiple files combination, just now I showed by running one. If you want to run multiple files, what you have to do? Forget about this one groups. Okay. Suit inside suit test. Okay. Inside test classes will be there. We'll write all the classes. After that, for groups, you need to add one more tag, groups. Okay. Inside group, you have to add run and include. You have to include that group name, which group you want to run. Okay. You have to run some functional test group or unit test group. Okay. Now I'm going to run both the groups. Okay. Those 2 groups related test cases are available in these classes, example 7 and example 7.1 and 2. Okay. Now let me run this. See here, suit 1 it executed. Okay. I have given name like suit 1. Inside 1, test 1. Okay. Test name is test 1. Okay. It has total how many test cases? Let me see there. Console output. See here. Okay. So 2 classes. Okay. Class 1, class 2. It has 3. It has 3. It executed all. Okay. You go to console, you can see here. It executed all 6 tests. When you are mentioning groups, execute group, because see here in this XML you mention like run these. Okay, in class 1 I have 4 functions, 4 test cases. One test case is not contributing or not part of any of the groups. That is the reason it did not execute that. Okay, it executed only group test cases. It did not. If you run only that file, at that time it will execute all. If you are running based on groups by using testng, you are specifying run these groups. So it will run only that group. Okay. So first file has 4. See here. First file has 4 test cases. Though it executed only first 3. Because this last one test case 4 is not part of any group. When you try to run using XML, you are specifying the groups if you are going to run based on groups. Okay. At that time, it will not execute test case 4. Okay. Now, if I want to run only functional test related test cases. Okay. Now, let me run it. See, it executed 4 because first set has 2 test cases, second test case has 2 test cases. Total how many? 4. Okay. If I want to run only unit test related, okay, it will run only unit test related. So unit test related one I am going to run 4. If you want, you can see this console output. Okay, this one is a part of functional and unit. Second one is unit test. So fourth one is unit test and functional. Fifth one is unit test. Okay, when you run, if you want to run both, okay, you can run. At that time, total how many are there in functional? 4. And how many are there in unit? 4. 2 test cases are common in both functional and unit. Okay, when you run both the groups, that common one, it will not execute 2 times, it will execute 1 time, right? That is enough, right? Running 1 time. Okay, clear?
Venkat,
Yeah.
with the group.xml, right? It will always have the priority of group. The classes will not take it.
No, only groups only. Okay. Based on groups only, we are going to run, from where it has to pick the test cases. For that purpose, these classes.
Okay.
Okay. So while running the groups, for these groups, if you want to do one pre-test, you use before groups. Similarly, post-test means use after groups. Okay. With these annotations are over. Any doubts in these annotations? So if you want to run more than one file and all, we must need XML. Okay, with XML only you can run whatever I have shown just now. Okay, I will send this after the session. Okay, just go through those. So for each and every example, I have written separate one and I pasted the output also. You can go through that once. Okay, without running it, you can run and see.
Attach files to a certain test cases. Say if a test case requires an attachment, would you give that a path in this group's XML file?
Did not understand clearly, Mahesh.
Say for example, for a Gmail login, right? I want to send an email. In that email, I want to attach a Word document.
Okay. That attachment path you are telling, right?
Yeah. Do you give that here in the groups XML or in the test case?
In test case only, that I will show you. Where is it available and all. Okay, some data dynamically while running the test will take, right? Like our email login credentials also from while running dynamically will give, right? It will, for one user email ID is different, some other user. Those kind of things will keep in XML file and then will pass the XML before running. Okay.
Okay.
So similarly, that attachment path also, which attachment you want to use for your test. Emails, there what you have to select that same thing we are going to see that now. See here, same investigation going to show, right? We tried to do this.